Denise. Thank you for having me. Honestly, your nice words made me rethink myself because recently, being in the weeds of AI with all the challenges, I keep asking myself, oops, can you see me now? Okay, cool. TLDR, nobody can be an observer in part of the AI. We are all part of it. We have to all act based on how AI is going to changing us, going to reshape us. How can we thrive as product leaders, as ordinary users, or even as regular customers? All right, so without further ado, I'm going to share my my screen. Let me know whether, oops, I think get the wrong screen here. This is the one. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, great. So before I jump into AI, on top of what Denise has shared, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit more. I started my career professionally, fresh from school, from Cisco, as a software engineer. Many years at Cisco shaped me a different way of thinking. Later on, I will share more with this audience. It's a network industry. So network industry give us a special point of view, how things are connected, how different node needs to be optimized when we want to find the optimized route to the end. So that's how I started at the Cisco. Then I switched to a startup company before joining Workday, where I met with Denise. And ServiceNow, now I'm at Airbnb. As you can see from the journey, from different industry to different B2B versus B2C, or now even specific dedicated travel industry. The product experience, the learning I'm going to share today is from my journey, also from a lot of smart coworkers I have worked with. Denise is one of those. So I do have a daughter who is opposite of me. So every single time she is my perfect sounding board because she's so different. I love travel, and that's the reason I joined Airbnb. And very interesting fun fact about Airbnb and me is now I'm the product leader in community support platform team. At the same time, for my past 10 years traveling experience with Airbnb, I never reach out to Airbnb customer support. So that's a fun fact because now every day I'm dealing with the customer issues with Airbnb, but I personally never experience that anytime. So it's interesting. Another fun fact about me is I really love house renovations. Somehow I feel like house renovations are very similar to the product management. So when you start any project, you have some design and you have to pivot during the design. Something will go wrong. You anticipate it or you don't anticipate will go wrong. You need to work with different contractors or different vendors to make it work. At the end, you're going to deliver something amazing you love and your contractors love too. So that's how I feel like, okay, if I'm not the product manager, I will be a contractor. So for us, regardless whether it's AI age or it's non-AI age, technology is always evolving. As a product manager, I felt from past more than decades of experiences and working with different smart peoples, how we as product managers dare to dream, to disrupt, and to deliver something always better. So that's how we can thrive in any new era with different technologies. So let's move to the agenda really. So AI is game changer. It's going to change everything. It's going to change how we work, how we live. I feel like this is another wave of internet. So I still remember when I first joined Cisco at 99, that was the slogan we say. We're going to change how people live and study and work. This is the second time we're going to experience that. Then I'm going to share the 3 principles I have learned, how I can thrive through AI, because I started my AI professional journey 7, 8 years ago. When I started, AI was so novel at enterprise level. We need to explain what's the difference between models and algorithms. So now we are so familiar with those fundamental concepts, how we can thrive with technology revolutions. So I would love to share my learnings with you. So like Denise said, at the end, we're leaving enough time for us to exchange ideas and answer questions. So when we say AI change everything, what exactly it means, right? As a product people, we always say, hey, we introduce the product, we deliver the product based on the best understanding of our users, the best design we can get. Then we can optimize the process and we can influence the people to make people's life better. So with Gen AI, what exactly it means here? So number one thing for me is the speed of innovation with generative AI, with large language model is such amazing since last November. If I really compare what we're doing right now with Gen AI, I'm not sure whether any of you checked how many startups about Gen AI last year. Now, how much VC funding is going into Gen AI field. So that's how the passion people have about generative AI. The innovation speed is accelerated from so many different angles. The scale, different industries, almost every business leader is talking about it. And the quality of generative AI with even open source foundational model without any additional effort. I test out lots of Airbnb customer support use cases there. The performance is, of course, is not the best, but for many use cases, they are very reasonable. Compared to many years ago, we have to start from scratch. This is so different, and this is so wonderful for product leaders like us who really want to leverage this technology. Lastly is the perception about the AI. So many people are skeptical about AI. But with ChatGPT, with generative AI last November, suddenly everybody wants to be part of this journey. Everybody kind of having this anxiety of new, but they need to do something with this. So now is a perfect time for actually to innovate, to see how really we can leverage generative AI to accelerate any innovation in your product domain. The second one is really workforce augmentation, right? So I'm sure every one of us now is familiar with the writing assistant or the code co-pilot. So how the AI can make us better, faster, and how AI actually empower us to try different things. For example, when we use Gen AI, we try, hey, now you are the CPO, so can you help me to articulate that differently? Or we can say, hey, if you are the product leader who is managing digital product portfolio, what your product strategy will look like. So I will share after this slide what Gen AI generated for me when I joined Airbnb. I was asking, how can you generate the product strategy for me? Then how I can enhance on top of that. Lastly is hyper personalization. So when we say, hey, internet is the first technology resolution wave that allows Google to make knowledge accessible by everybody. Then we have the mobile phone wave with iPhone that make the knowledge, everything accessible, portable by everybody everywhere. Now with generative AI, it's a third wave of hyper personalization. It can understand your situation so well, it can play different roles to make hyper personalization so feasible now. So I feel like this is the most exciting moment with any product leaders now. So in terms of personalization, I have a very interesting conversation recently with somebody who recommended to read a book called Personalized Law, different rules for different people. So this is a really profound topic because many of us believe law should be equal to everybody. The rule should be the same to everybody. But if we really think about the product, if we really think about the law, if we have an outcome-driven law conversation, the conversation can be very different. If I have to use the example here, I will use the bail as example. So bail is amount of money defendant must post to be released from the custody before their trial. So the purpose is to simply ensure that defendants will appear for trial. So if we have a fixed amount of money, let's say a $10,000 for the bail amount, so $10,000 means so different for different people. Some people can go away, think this is a little, or somebody can even not pay a bail, so they have to be stay in custody. So that's how I think the third wave with generative AI to empower hyper personalization will have a profound meaning across all industry. So next slide is the generative AI generated the product strategy for me for Airbnb. So let me stop sharing this screen, then find another one so you can actually scan through that. Let me see this. This is okay. Give me 1 second. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is the generative AI generated the product strategy for me. How we can revolutionize the community support using digital first, aka CS, the AI first approach. You can actually see this is from journey, from the highest, the pinpoints we have to something the future of Airbnb support with the quality assurance and the outcome success, right? You can see this is really customer centric approach. It's always, when I first time saw this, I was like, oh my God, this sounds so legit. It gave me at least 20% of the confidence that the model itself is smart enough and the part of the work we're doing right now actually can be automated, even as a product manager. At the same time, what is our value if the AI can do this for us? So this is the next slide. So product, fundamentally, as a product leaders, how we come up with product strategy, how we find the market fit. I still truly believe the fundamentals are not changed. Even AI is changing everything. So for example, we still need to understand the market fit and market trend to really understand the business outcomes. What business outcomes we try to deliver? Products are delivering outcomes. Products are not delivering the output. However, how we understand the business imperatives, how we understand the market fit can be different with AI technology. The second one is when we decide to go to market with the market fit, we also want to consider the technology maturity, right? Especially with AI. So with AI, how we manage expectations. AI is great. It can do great things, but AI has its own limitation, especially with Gen AI. Sometimes you cannot even control how Gen AI, large language model, will respond. Hallucination is something we call a bug, but hallucination can be also called a feature if we set up different expectations with different use cases. How feasible generative AI can allow us to do what kind of use cases here. Lastly, of course, we are all user-centric. How we understand interactions, how interactions will be different with new age of AI, how we can ensure that we're not only introduce the AI capability or AI feature, how our customers, our users can actually adopt it. So those are fundamentally no change, even though we are leveraging AI to do different things to achieve the same insight. So exactly how can we thrive? How can we keep thriving as product leaders? So those are 3 lessons I have learned. Number 1 is be a deep thinker. How can we think deeply with AI? How we practice and thrive with critical thinking is always number 1. So critical thinking starts with data. So I like to use this story. And this story originally posted on LinkedIn. I give the credit to the original poster. So feel free to take a look. So the context of this one is how we interpret data. And besides, or in addition to the data on the surface. So the story happened during World War II. Coming back, fighter planes look like this one in the picture. So the goal is how we can analyze those data, analyze those fighter planes to make sure we have more fighter planes can survive without being shut down. So that's the goal of this data analysis. So after we understand all the fighting plans coming back, we have this original initial proposal. So because we see this many shots in the center, we want to strengthen the most common damaged parts. So the fighter planes can be less damaged. They can come back. But wait, what is missing here? Every data point we have here is from the flights. They came back. For those flights got shut down without coming back, the data is entirely missing. If we really analyze the data from different angles, we can clearly see that the fighter planes got shot in these white spaces. They are now covered by those bullets. They didn't come back. With this, we come back with opposite proposal. The conclusion is we have to reinforce the armor parts where there are no bullet shots, so those on those white spaces. So this is the meaning of the data. The data is everything for AI. So as part of a principle one, we really have to be the one who interpret data from the data and also from the data that is missing and ask why the data is missing, how we get insight from that. So super critical for us to be the AI-driven product manager. So now let's get into the small exercise using this data. This is a true statistics. 85% of consumers start their customer service 50% of time on Google. So we have internal discussion. So we have a different solutions on this one. Of course, we can improve SEO so that customers can find us easily on Google. Or we can make our customer support access more prominent by design, so customers don't need to go to the Google. All those are proper product features, but at the same time, why we need users to find us? Why discoverability is even the foundation to start customer service? Why can't customer service to meet users where they are? So they don't need to find us. So all of those get into very different product direction with different strategy, different feature set. That's the reason we need to be a different and disruptive thinker. So the second one principle for me is really how we can connect the dots. I shared the story with Cisco experience. So I would reinforce that with Steve Jobs' quotes here, right? The creativity is just connecting things. When we connect the things, you can see things people cannot see if they don't connect those. If people think things silently, they're such a missing part of creativity. So what does it mean? So I use this example again as part of a ChatGPT large language model. We all know that sometimes ChatGPT gives us wrong answers with high confidence. But what might not that commonly know is even we ask the same question at a different time, we might get different answers. So as a product leaders, how can we address those? This is a very common issue while we are developing any product with any AI feature using large language model. So the proposal can be, yes, of course, we use ChatGPT, but we only use ChatGPT to generate offline responses. So we can have a human in the loop validate to have a static library as a product responses. This is one way to solve this. We can also have a separate way. The second way is let's introduce and accelerate the prompt engineering so we can find a proper way, few shots or zero shots prompting to control the large language model during as an input for consistent outcome. So this is one way of doing this. And we have another way of doing this. So how can we think holistically from the journey perspective and introduce the guardrails at the input level and at output level in real time or offline to have this proper and consistent the responses, experiences for our users. So this means we need to be end-to-end system thinker. We need to think at the system level. It's not just per touch point level, but this is not enough. What we need to do more is the guardrails system level is not enough. because we need to think that cross-systemly as well. For example, guardrail can be triggered by technical touch points, like large language model didn't perform at the level we need them to be. Also, the guardrail needs to be managed by our design with privacy, design with sentiment, design with EQ. How design can play part of a role beyond the technical requirement is one way. How about business guardrails? So especially if I'm using my current role as an example here, so we're working with different contact centers with business operation teams. Business operation teams might have a different preferences during different seasons, like peak seasons, they like to operate differently. How can we have all of those as part of the guardrails and connect those together when we introduce the end-to-end user experience? And that's not enough. How about even beyond that? So yes, that's a system thinker, interdisciplinary role. How about ecosystem thinker? So for example, for any AI solution right now, we have an ecosystem that includes all different companies who can provide our large language models. So how we consider, evaluate, and pick those large language models. So how you consider the flexibility, right? Whether it's licensing, commercial use, in-house fine-tune, or open source, how you consider data privacy as a center that connects everything, right? How can you manage the PI data or third-party service when you have to upload your data to the open source providers? For example, ChatGPT plugin, right? You have to upload all your data. Is that best you can do? Then how you evaluate, how you understand the training and your serving cost. ChatGPT, for example, GPT-4 is very expensive. And can you choose different one? Still meet your latency and your performance requirements. So when we have all those thinking criteria to be a big thinker, we need to consider all of those and connect the dots. Lastly is my number 3. As a technology AI lover, we have to really think beyond technology. So technology is the means for us to deliver product outcomes. So how we consider technology to be an enabler when we develop the product, we have to think outside of the product. Another day, I heard this story. I think it was very inspiring. I forgot where. It was the part of a condo development. When people move from houses to a condo to downsize, there's a huge pinpoint people barely managed and recognized, because the package, how you pack all your stuff to be ready downsize. So the condo providers actually increase the price of condo and include the packing and the moving service without doing any actual product development. So that's how we have to think when we develop the AI-led product. What it means, right? It really means we need to back to the moment of truth. How we understand the demand. The demand is those moments that customers feel they cannot tolerate the pinpoint anymore. So demand will generate the need of our product. And that's not the only thing. The demand needs to be contextual, right? The situational context, the user context around that demand. Then we can deliver outcome. This is back to our product management 101, how we understand the moment of truth. The second way is design will be totally different with generative AI or AI-led product, because design is no longer static. How we design a dynamic system that design the experience can come up in real time based on certainty, based on sensitivity, also based on the different guardrails we design. So we need to be the best partners with our designers. So that's one way. Of course, ethical is always the concern with AI. How you manage your data, how you use the data, how you have the data compliance policy is part of a consideration. Ultimately, when we design the product, how we can empower human to make decisions along the journey. So we have let's see, we have a data annotation human in the loop to decide the data quality. Then we have business owners to decide whether we want the AI to manage certain use cases, whether we want human to manage certain use cases directly. So that's part of an ethical and human in the loop discussion. Lastly is really the culture. So AI product manager becomes a culture promoter. How we can promote this data-led, data-informed AI approach with understanding of uncertainty, with understanding the technology keep evolving maturity, to understand the experience expectation, to really embrace the adventure. So without a culture change, product managers alone, with technologies alone, even with designers alone, cannot deliver the successful outcome. So this is a part of the last part is really human-centric is our superpower. Even we are developing and delivering AI-led products, and many of functions are going to automate human tasks. We are still very human-centric power approach. So to summarize it is really how we can thrive. AI is changing everything, but what doesn't change make us thrive. We need to be a deep thinker. We need to connect the dots so we can have this network effect and with broader and deeper insight. Lastly, we really need to think and do beyond the technologies. So Denise, I will get back to you. I rushed through this and leave some time for us to have a Q&A.
No, that's amazing. Hanlin, thank you for those incredible insights. And frankly, maybe as somebody in background checks, I said, I'm definitely going to read that personalize the law. It's a great example. Would love to just start even kind of with a warm-up question for you, because I'm sure a lot of folks today maybe are on the beginning of this journey. And so obviously this might be intimidating, right? Because AI can be complex, right? And so how would you recommend that product leaders with maybe limited technical backgrounds, or even those who have technical backgrounds but haven't really been immersed in this space, how would you recommend that they really get started so that they can really become experts in this arena and start to think in the ways that you're describing today?
This is a very interesting question. Myself started as a technical person. I feel like we don't need to be technical to drive AI-led product success. And generative AI actually make it even more feasible, right? Because now there's very popular slogan among programmer or developers community saying, hey, now the most popular programming language is English. That's true, because everybody, speaks language. Language is the way Gen AI can understand and do logical reasoning for us. So one way is the Gen AI empower us, less technical product managers to thrive. And the second point I'd like to share with us is product managers with this many years business knowledge bring a unique value to the AI. So AI is such a technology centric, but AI is not technology driven solution. Let me give you one example. So actually this example applied even when I was back in Workday. So for example, any AI model will require performance evaluation. Then many times we measure performance based on accuracy, because people generally, for non-technical person, people will say, hey, whether your model is accurate or not. So when we measure accuracy, actually it means at least two dimensions, right? It's a positive and negative. Is true positive or true negative. As long as it's true positive plus true negative, they are accurate. However, true positive and true negative means very different business outcomes. And many times you cannot have both. You have to trade out between those two. So true positive for me, let's say precision, right? Whether precision is what product needs for that specific use case. If we have a conversational AI experience like chatbot, to understand user intent. For me, as a product manager, we need to firmly share with our end, we want high precision because we'd rather to transfer the chatbot support to human if we don't understand 100% or 95%. However, if we're shopping around, we don't need high precision. We need a sensitivity. You can recommend me different things, right? It's close, it's something like that. So it's really a use case driven, but how we influence technology decisions is how we understand business context. Does that make sense? I hope.
It does. And honestly, I think the use case really helps to drive it home, right? If you recommend this pair of jeans or those pants, it's okay, right? There's no risk. And it doesn't need to be consistent.
Even when we saying, hey, you know what, with large language model, now we can now even validate the outcome. Like before, when we do whether this is cat or dog, we know. But now with generative AI response, many times you don't know. And we are losing the certainty on input. We are losing on the certainty on output. So how can we introduce a certain experience across those many uncertainties? So guardrail is needed. Then product managers can chime in to say, you know what, guardrail is not just the technical. How can we introduce the design and business all together to have that holistic experience? It's what value product managers can bring in. Generative AI, you can take introduction courses. That's all you need to do.
Yeah. And probably even just play with the products, right? I mean, these are now things that we can all interact with right on our own laptops.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. You also said something there, and then I want to take a couple of questions from our audience here, but you said something about design. And when you and I talked in preparation for this session, I think that most people are now thinking AI equals chatbot. And I'm sure that we all hope that our life is not just bouncing from one chatbot to the next. And so how are you seeing design evolve with this AI, evolution?
So first of all, AI is not equal to chatbot. Even we're saying generative AI is more conversational, it's human-like interactions. That's why the conversational becomes a center of the AI right now. But for me, I really think AI is how fundamentally change human interact with machine. So chatbot is a channel or mechanism to enable that, but we can have other things. So for example, let's say, hey, Grammarly Go today with generative AI. It's not chatbot. It's still the sidebar. You can still see how it worked, right? It is not like chatbot is the only way, although it's very popular right now. People are different. So when we, as a product manager, we even need to say, you know what? Even it is a chatbot, it can be your talk, it can be your type, it can be your typing. So I always call that is T3 experience altogether, and how you influence people interact each other between human and machine. So
love that. Love that. Well, hey, we've got a couple questions here. So one of them, somebody's looking to hear from your experiences.
Sure.
So how has Airbnb utilized AI in the personalization domain? And what are specific use cases that have been enabled using AI? And then the fundamental question many people always want to know is, why was AI required in those cases?
So let's say AI is in Airbnb is in hospitality industry. So when you go ahead and book your Airbnb, how we can understand you. So just another day, I was chatting with our data head. I was asking, hey, we have this many customer escalations coming to community support. We should stop those as a part of an in-product design. The reason is, if you understand me better, when I was booking with Airbnb, certain lists should not even show up. For example, I'm very picky on cleanness. I'm very flexible on the fancy decoration or whatever. But if you know me so well, I have top two requirements. One is cleanness. The second one is location. Rest of them can be secondary. So when you recommend to me, those listing who have the review feedback on cleanness shouldn't be my list.
Mm-hmm.
So the best customer support should start with product itself. If the customer reach out to community support, it's already indicator of kind of, for me, it's kind of a failure. That's the reason why we need AI at the first place.
Yeah,
So
there's a product bug to begin with, right? Which is they showed you things that don't align with what you're looking for.
yes, so the best customer service is we don't need customer service with AI, of course.
I love that. I think that's a great way to think about it. We talk about the same thing. It's like start with the root cause and then you don't have to escalate.
Yes, absolutely.
So next question here, what are some of the best practices that you would recommend for product managers to tackle ethical implications of AI?
Tough question, ongoing question. So we have a legal, then we have a privacy, then we have a compliance, then we have our own user research group. We are all tackling this issue. So for me, so Denise, I'm not sure whether you remember when we were both at Workday, the discussion with our general counsel office at that time was starting with what's the data definition? What is the PII data? Who can access it? Who can use it? When they can use it? What's your data policy? When you can purge the data, right? And how you mask the sensitive data. So all of those is part of a legal and privacy compliance requirement, but it's also part of an ethical for AI product to consider. Even though, for me, coming from B2B to B2C, if I have to compare, when I was at a B2B company, accessing enterprise customer data is so hard, right?
Yeah.
How you create the policy that allows your enterprise customer to opt in. While they're opting in, how can you make your data process audible so they can review it whenever they need? Then you really need to have those, you leverage learning, but you don't share the data. So all of us need to have a very solidly defined process. And we need to make sure we communicate that transparently with customers, with our users. That's number one thing. Number two thing is, when we actually introduce the product experience, we need to be transparent as well. So that was one of the reasons product managers before, for very old machine learning task-specific approach, we had to choose certain models that can easily to be explained. But now with generative AI, it's a black box in a way. We really don't know. But when we fine-tune the model, you have to add a layer of supervised learning to make it more transparent. So as a part of experience design, our design should have this. Okay, this is based on what we understood you. This is how we communicate. This is why we are giving you this information. So it's really the combination of the process, compliance, and the product at the end is how people react, how you collect the people feedback right away and make it part of your development cycle, right? Again, back to the product, process, and people together.
Absolutely. Let me ask you another couple questions here. We've got them streaming in. What are some examples of how product leaders use generative AI to drive productivity, such as streamlining workflows and communication across cross-functional teams, whether that be designers, engineers, marketing, sales, customer support, and so on?
Oh my God, I just shared one, right? I use AI to create a framework of product strategy. That's one thing. Second thing is I use AI to do market research. Amazingly, you don't even know how much you can get. I use AI actually to do my product manager hiring job description at the first cut too. I do. I use AI to summarize all the Slack channel product related discussion. I use AI actually we have an internal AI group. They develop the fast prototyping, use generative AI. You can test the experience. There's so many different ways for product managers or even just for regular employee. Everybody can do this so much from AI.
Yeah,
don't waste the opportunity.
There are so many, and there's actually a really fun one out there for all the PMs that happen to be on this call, which You can actually have it write your user stories and acceptance criteria. And so it can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So lots of ways, to your point, to drive productivity. Or I love even having it critique something, right? Read this document like the CEO and give me feedback.
Yeah. And one thing specifically for me is because there are many Airbnb articles or knowledge articles available, published online already, right? So one of my requests to my PM or my product team is, whatever we come up with our own better solution, we have to benchmark against a generative AI. You have to be better than them, right? So
yeah,
another use of the generative AI.
Like an A/B test. You versus the machine.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Here's another one that is being asked. What skills and background would make someone a great AI PM versus other types of PM roles?
Honestly, every PM needs to be AI PM very soon. We will not have product managers who are not part of AI. So first of all, let's embrace this opportunity to be the AI product manager. The second one is, like I just shared, right? We are back to product management 101. So AI is a set of means we can reach to our business outcomes. AI is now the driver for us to be part of AI. So we use AI. AI is our tool. So I'm not sure whether I answered this question, but it's really how we understand users, how we understand the market, how we understand technology at the proper level. That's all we need.
Right. I think your point is it's not an option, right?
No, it's not an option. Sorry.
We have to do all of that and this. Let me quickly read this one that's hot off the presses here. So how should we think of AI for product roadmaps and strategies? Whether have AI in each of the portfolio products as a stream to enhance or improve the core, or whether AI is a new transformative product, transformational product. So is it, kind of embedded everywhere, or is it on its own? The latter generally needs lots of experimenting, lean teams and more runway, but if failed, doesn't lead to AI success in the overall organization. So how should we think of AI as a transformational opportunity?
This is a great question, but at the same time, this is a lengthy question too. Yeah. Because it's very heavy. So first of all, at least from my perspective, AI product roadmap is a combination of core and distributed. You cannot just have a core that will limit your speed of innovation and the speed of scale and the speed of understanding each different vertical. At the same time, you have to have a core that can streamline all the common processes, all the common practices to make the foundation work. So that's what we're doing right now as well. So we wanted to have this platform approach. At the same time, we want to have different groups to fine tune their own model, for example, right? We also need to think about it. The large language models are not one size fits all as well. So how can you provide that core centralized flexibility so different BU can choose and fine tune using their own supervised learning or reinforced learning? So that's part of the infrastructure. Then everything actually I haven't touched is this core is based on your data structure, your data strategy. So to have a part AI for product roadmap, you have to start with core data. At the same time, you have to accelerate a few selected use cases because you need long-term investment. You also need short-term value realization. Only if you can combine those two, you can gain not only investment, but also the business outcome that can be part of your ROI business case, right? For product managers, one thing we have to do is how can we sell and get funding and deliver? So you have to have this short-term delivery and long-term strategy all together.
Yeah. If you're just banking on the platform, it's a long journey, I think is what I hear you saying.
Yeah, nobody can wait for 3 years, right? After 3 years, your core platform becomes obsolete. You have to redo the core platform again.
Yeah. And do you also use, I'm assuming, but love to learn from your experiences. I'm a data girl as well. And one of the things you do when you're building a platform, right, is you look at sort of the use cases, what are getting trajectory, and then you're building the platform to service more use cases. And so I'm assuming as you're building out your AI platform, you're kind of taking that same approach.
Yeah, it's very similar. At the same time, because data is critical, so data is not only siloed data, right? Again, this is how you connect things together. Data needs to be connected as well for AI to be intelligent. In AI, intelligence doesn't come out of the blue. There has to be something on data, right? And also, for me, I especially feel like the product managers become change agents in terms of a culture, because the AI needs different mentality, different mental model. AI needs us to embrace and actually enjoy the failures and certainties instead of, okay, we failed, right? How we shift the purely milestone product approach with solid feature delivery is to the learning delivery. So those are things product leaders can lead, can influence heavily.
Are there like tips that you would give folks, to your point, right, where you've got to celebrate the learnings? How have you been able to transition from this milestone or outcome-based approach to this celebratory, we learned something, but it might be that it didn't, our hypothesis didn't prove out. How have you been successful in shifting that mindset?
So it's a learning journey on this one too. So what we have been trying really hard is we share the excitement, the potential of the AI, but we do spend lots of effort to manage expectations from the C-level team members, because that's the key, right? Then we still have a milestones, but milestones is no longer like, okay, you have to deliver feature ABC. Milestone becomes, okay, by this milestone, we target those 3 use cases, then we have a flexibility. Then we are learning how we define the learning framework for learning, like meta learning for learning, because we don't even know what to learn, right? So we have to come up with a learning plan. So that becomes very interesting, because we were thinking, okay, from technically what you can learn, what you want to learn, and product-wise, what you need to learn, design what we can learn, come out together, what we learn together, so we can ensure every phase we learn, then we can continue deliver that use case. We cannot have forever learning, right?
Yeah.
We're good enough. So I mean, with Gen AI is another way. We want to optimal experience, or we want to acceptable experience. How we balance those two, it becomes very philosophical discussion many times. Product in AI becomes very philosophical.
Right. It's sort of that age-old adage, which I always get wrong when I say it, but it's like, don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough, right? And having that kind of a conversation.
Right. Very true.
All right. There's a couple more here that I'd love to ask in our remaining couple of moments. So product management is also about picking the best initiatives vis-a-vis ROIs. How can organizations avoid fear of missing out to jump on the AI bandwagon and pick the best AI initiatives? Okay,
great question. The fear of missing out. No one will be missed out, because the AI, again, is the mean. AI is the enabler for the business outcomes. So approach for me is, let's identify the most critical business outcomes that we are working towards. Then we can see, hey, this is the most critical one, and how AI can help accelerate it. So that's another way of looking into AI itself. Is not separate. It's a part of your business outcome planning. AI can either accelerate or bring that to a different level, or slow down a little bit at the beginning. But AI shouldn't be a separate pillar. So for me, I always say, hey, as a AI platform product manager, we are not the one to deliver our AI product. If we don't deliver business outcomes, we don't deliver.
Right. It's back to the example you gave of, where users start their search. There's different ways to solve that problem. One of those, options was invest in AI as a way to solve for this, but you could have gotten there different ways.
Yes, yes, at a different time. It depends on your, funding, your initiative, your immediate needs, right? So you choose different ones. There's no single solution, right?
Yeah. Well, I know we're here at the end of time, and Hanlin, this has been incredible. Thank you for, sharing all of your knowledge with this amazing community and just being so generous with your time and expertise. So I just want to say thank you from Products That Count, and thank all of you that joined us today. Really great dialogue, lots of great questions.
Thank you for having me. This actually refreshed my thinking a lot.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.